Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a very interesting upload to share with you. Interesting yet terrifying. Before we get into this upload, though, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch store to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. The links to them are in the description as well. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload. Shall we? Quick brief announcement. I apologize up front if you guys hear any thunder in the background. We are having terrible thunder and lightning storms going on. Severe wind, thunder, lightning, flash flood warnings, you name it. I was going to go on the scene where I had my encounter today with the new camera and do an upload on location, but unfortunately I couldn't. So hopefully it will be better tomorrow or definitely the next day, and I can get that out to you guys. Just wanted to share that with you quickly. Now let's get into the encounters. Today's first part of the upload. Alright guys, as of late I have been kind of broadening my horizons. Kind of looking at other things other than Dogman, or things that are Dogman related other than encounters, because there is a lot of theory and speculation surrounding these creatures. And about a year and a half ago I discussed a disappearance that happened out in Georgia. And with all of the crazy things that are going on as of late, I kind of want to revisit this one case, because as of late there has been no new news, and this person has been missing for 19 years, and his poor mother is without any news. And if I were this person's parent, I would at least want some kind of news, closure, whatnot. So let's revisit the Christopher Tompkins case. The day of January 25th, 2002 started off just like any other day for 20-year-old Christopher Tompkins. He got up, said goodbye to his mother, who he lived with, and left for his job as a surveyor at 8:10 in that morning. Tompkins met up with the other 3 members of his 4-man survey team and went about their daily routine of survey work at an expanse of lightly wooded area off County Line Road near Highway 85 in Ellerslie, Georgia. The team moved as a unit, each man spaced 50 feet apart in a line as they worked their way in the same direction through the forest. Tompkins, who was the last in the line, was keeping regular communication with the others, and he and a man in front of him were within eyesight of each other. At one point, the surveyor in front glanced back towards Tompkins, who had just been talking to him moments before, to find he was suddenly and inexplicably gone. Now this did not make any sense, because the man had just been there several seconds before. But now there was nothing, and nowhere he could have gone without being seen. The surveyor called the others, and they searched the area, but what they found only made it all even weirder. Nearby was one of Christopher's work boots hanging from a barbed wire fence that stretched through the area, with no sign of the other boot. In a patch of grass next to the boot was his work tools, and a blue fiber from his work pants with 12 cents. That was it, and it seemed as if Christopher Tompkins had simply blinked out of existence. It would not be until 1 p.m., around 4 hours after the disappearance, that one of the other surveyors would finally call their boss to say Christopher had vanished. And oddly enough, the missing man's own mother was not told about the incident until about 4:15 p.m. Even then, she was informed that they had to wait 24 hours for the police to do anything. And when the authorities finally stepped in, they were not able to find any additional clues as to what happened to him. A more intensive search was launched, but nothing was turned up until months later, when the missing work boot was bizarrely found by chance on private property of a man who lived 900 yards from where Christopher had gone missing. Indeed, many of his friends and family would insist that Tompkins had been well-adjusted, happy individual, and his co-workers painted a picture of a respectable, hard-working individual. There is also the question of, if he did walk away, then how did he manage to do it in full view of the others? And why did he do it, minus one boot, and while leaving behind those other bizarre clues? Another idea still was that he might have been attacked by a wild animal. But if that were the case, why wasn't there any more evidence of a struggle or injury? And how could this possibly happen within moments and within eyesight of the other surveyor without him knowing? This does not make any sense. The newest or latest news article was from 2005. Family seeks help with son's 2002 disappearance in Harris County. Christopher Carlton Tompkins did not disappear without a trace, but a trace of the 20-year-old is all searchers found when he was last seen January 25, 2002. Antonio Carter of the National Joshua Generation Empowerment Movement and other activists addressed the Tompkins mystery during a news conference Tuesday at the Columbus Government Center. Tompkins vanished while working with a 4-man survey crew in the woods between Warm Springs Road and Georgia 85 near County Line Road in Harris County. Co-workers reported they last saw Tompkins as he walked in the same direction about 50 feet apart. The head of the survey crew learned of Tompkins' disappearance at 1 p.m. Family and friends launched a search that day. They found one of his boots, some tools, a blue fiber from his pants, and 12 cents on the ground. Months later, a landowner found the other boot on property off of Interstate 85, miles from where the first turned up. That's all anyone found. No other trace has shown up since. Born December 28th, Tompkins this year would have turned 40 years old. He stood 5 feet 7 inches, weighed 124 pounds, and had a tattoo of an ice cream cone bearing the name Chris on his right arm. When last seen, he was wearing a black shirt, a blue and gray plaid jacket with a gray hood, and navy blue Dickie work pants. Friends and family do not believe Tompkins vanished of his own volition. He was not the type of person who was going to walk away, friend Jasmine Houston states in a news conference. Carter said he doesn't want people to forget Tompkins. We just want people to be mindful. We will not forget about this, he states. The family asked that anyone with tips call 706-289-5229. Then strangely, back in 2009, not then, but back in 2009, this news article just pops up. Skeletal remains sent to State Crime Lab. Harris County, Georgia. The investigation continues in Harris County after a hunter found a human skull and bones on Memorial Day near Pine Mountain exit for Interstate 185. All day Wednesday, GBI investigators and volunteer firefighters from across the area continue searching the woods along Interstate 185, near Harris and Trope County line. In and around the area the remains were originally discovered. We are concentrating in the area right there around the remains, and we are expanding out from here, so it's a large wooded area. We did find an additional portion of remains this morning. It was a pelvic bone. They are continuing their search at this time for additional remains, states Special Agent in Charge Rodney Wall with the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. So far this week, a portion of a skull, leg bones, and pelvic bones have been found at the Pine Mountain crime scene off Highway 18. Investigators say they have been there for at least a year. When it comes to identifying the remains, police say they will consider missing persons cases, like the case of 61-year-old Alton Moss from Meriwether County, who was last seen in 2005. Investigators believe foul play was involved in his disappearance. Then there's the case of Pamela Hickson, who left her Talbot County home 3 years ago and hasn't been seen since. In Harris County, authorities are still looking for 28-year-old Christopher Tompkins, who was last seen walking away from his job site in Ellerslie in 2002. There's missing persons cases in this area that we know of that working out of this office, but there's also missing persons cases that we are aware of throughout the state. And we'll also have to consider any cases that are across the line into Alabama, added Special Agent Wall. The GBI has wrapped up its search and has sent the bones to the State Crime Lab in Atlanta for identification. There, an anthropologist will review them and determine the age, race, and sex of the person. That will take time, just how long investigators can't say, but they hope the discovery will one day be able to give a family closure. So, did you guys catch anything strange out of the 3 news articles that I shared? Now, the one thing that I caught was the mention of the other boot. In the initial one from 2002, they stated that it was found some 900 feet away from the original crime scene. In 2015, it is now moved to a mile. There's a big difference there. Then we go to 2009. There has been, I looked back and searched, and there has been no mention of any identification of those bones. So out of the 3 missing person cases that were mentioned in that article, apparently none of those bones were those people. Otherwise, with Christopher, it would have been mentioned in the 2015 article, and people still would not be searching or talking about this case 6 years after that article. And if it was the other 2, I would have found some information leading to the bones identifying one of them. What do I think happened? Well, what I think happened is I really honestly believe that he was abducted by a cryptid, whether it be Dogman or Sasquatch. I'm leaning towards a Dogman. For the simple case of the speed that this was done. Why don't you, Jeff, feel it was the other 3? Well, even though there's no mention of this, and I looked, I'm guessing that GBI and the local and state police would have made those other 3 take a lie detector test. Beings that I found no mention, I feel like they did, and they probably passed. And why not mention it? Well, to leave speculation out there. You rule something out, and you put that in the paper or into the news, and then people start saying, wow, if these three guys didn't do it, what the hell else did? It couldn't have been another human. So yeah, this does not make any sense. I really think what happened was a Dogman had probably been stalking this crew. This more than likely was not their first day at this site. They were familiar with the area. They were doing their job, and I probably thinking the Dogman watched these guys and decided to pick the weakest link out of the bunch. 5'7", 123 pounds. That's not a big person. And scooped him up and took him away. Do I feel like there's a portal? No. For some reason, I don't. And the exact reason is because if there was, I think there would have been some sort of evidence, or one of the search parties would have fallen into it themselves. So yeah, my views is Dogman, and it probably, as soon as it got him, killed him and took off. And yeah, the speculation about the other three, but you got to think about it. We're talking now 19 years. And I think that if one of those three had did something, there was foul play involved, I think, well, loose lips sink ships, and eventually loose lips always prevail, right? So that's just my theory on that. Dogman comes up behind this poor kid, probably watching him for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of days. I don't really know how long they were there. They were obviously there for a little bit because they were familiar with the terrain. Probably came up behind, snap, snap, and gone. That's just my theory. I'd like to hear your guys' theories in the comment section below. Just crazy. So let's move on. Today's second part of the upload. While myself and two friends of mine were walking around the outskirts of a small wooded area on the south end of Kitchener/Waterloo, we started to cross a bridge over a small river to get into the woods when I started to feel nauseous after we passed the halfway point of the bridge. And on the other side we spotted what looked like a coyote standing on its hind legs. We turned around and booked it to my truck and sat there for a few minutes, trying to process what we had seen. While sitting in the car, we heard rustling and scratching coming from the woods. After we left and started to make our way home, we saw some other strange things. We saw what looked like a friend of ours weirdly holding a baby, walking towards the passenger door as we were driving off. He then crossed the street, then turned around and crossed it again. After that, we were followed by a white car for about 15 or 20 minutes before we lost it by getting lucky with some traffic lights. And now one of my friends is acting strange, not being able to recall certain things or misremembering things. Now I feel like I am being followed. Am I being paranoid? Or am just missing something? Well, guys, I think what this poor person and his friends saw was a Dogman, obviously. And yeah, some weird shit happened after, but I don't think it has any involvement. I just think, crazy stuff happens, unfortunately. You can't mix it all together. If you had stayed in that location and saw some weird shit afterwards, like, I don't know, orbs or other things, I then would think there would be some connection, but with the rest of these, I don't. Maybe the guy you saw that looked like your friend crossing the street 2 or 3 times was a crackhead. Who knows? But I don't feel like there is any connection. How about you guys? What do you guys think? Today's third encounter. This experience happened a few years ago, but me and my mom remember every single detail of what happened. I'm almost 100% sure we saw a Dogman. So when I was about in 7th or 8th grade, my mom and I were driving home from therapy approach of mine. Nothing for being schizoid, just depression and such. It was winter and a full moon because I remember the snow glowing under the moon. It was only 6, but it was really dark out because, well, it was the middle of winter. So we're going about 55 miles an hour when this thing crosses and stops right in front of us. The only way I can describe it is that if you combine a deer, a dog, and a human, it stood about as tall as our windshield. It had the legs of what I can describe as a deer. Its back was hunched over and walking on all fours. It had the head of a dog. No, it didn't have ears or dog nose, but its eyes were white, and it didn't have a tail. The freakish thing about this creature was its skin. It wasn't a canine with mange or anything. It had actual human skin all the way down its legs, too long to be dog legs. There was a smell of rotten meat. Some parts of the flesh were broken open like if you scrape your knee. It was pale white and you could see its veins. And this thing was fast, like it stood there and then just ran across the road in a blink of an eye. My mom and me had to pull over to calm down. We both saw it. This occurred in Southeastern Ohio, between Gallipolis and Athens. I haven't seen this creature since, but it still haunts me to this day. And on the highway, I'm scared to see it again. Today's fourth encounter. This experience happened maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I lived in a small college town right on the border of Minnesota and central Wisconsin. My 2 friends, Blake and Eric, we had a couple of drinks at my place and decided to go to the park in the middle of town just for a walk. I'd say the time was around 1 or 2 in the morning. Blake had just seen an episode of The Office where everyone was doing hardcore parkour around the office, and we had previously been joking and laughing about it. So, as we parked in the parking lot, he hopped out and started off on his parkour run. Eric and I ran after him, laughing, and when we finally caught up to him, we slowed down and started walking on the path. We neared the northern part of the path where it starts turning right to go back around to the park. On the outer side of the path, there was a clearing in the trees on a hill leading down to the river below, covered in a foot or 2 of brush. We debated heading down to the river, and as we got to the edge of the path, that's when we saw it. The joking immediately halted as we stood frozen for a few seconds as our eyes adjusted to the darkness. About 20 feet down the hill, this thing was hunched over facing away from us. It must have heard us and turned its head to look towards us. From what I remember of the second or 2 I saw its face, it had almost a wolf-looking face. Its eyes were terrifying. It continued to turn towards us while standing upright on its hind legs, and immediate fear overcame me. I knew right away that whatever this thing was, it did not look friendly and was not anything I had ever seen before. All 3 of us absolutely lost it and ran back to Eric's car as fast as possible. I don't think any of us looked back even once until we got to the car. We asked each other what the hell that thing was, and not a single one of us had even a close to the slightest explanation to what we saw. Today's fifth part of the upload is something I stumbled across. It's scientific, but it is possibly an explanation for cryptids that people are seeing nowadays. These animals are thought to be extinct, but like the famed anthropologist Forrest Gallant, well, he has found 6 animals that were supposed to be extinct. So who knows? But either way, I like to share these kind of things with you guys because I find them interesting and you may as well. The first we are going to look at is called the mapping uware. The moment you hear it, all your hairs stand on end, states Manuel dos Santos of his supposed encounter with the South American cryptid known as the mapping uware. According to a Discovery magazine article, the Brazilian was hunting in the Amazon when a blood-curdling scream echoed around the forest. Dos Santos, an experienced hunter, immediately ran and hid in the river. He heard the call 4 more times as the creature moved away. While some have likened the mapping uware to the South American Bigfoot, it has also been described as an enormous sloth-like creature with large curved claws, reddish fur, and a stench to peel paint. This has led cryptozoologists to speculate that the myths actually refer to a surviving species of ground sloth, a group of gigantic bear-like creatures believed to have gone extinct around 5,000 years ago. In 1994, a scholar of the Amazon, David C. Oren, set out to try to find and track the mapping uware in the rainforests of western Brazil, collecting over 1,000 eyewitness accounts of this creature. Unfortunately, Oren's expedition was largely unsuccessful, coming away with only some casts of footprints, a clump of hair that turned out to be from an agouti, and fecal matter that was later identified as belonging to a giant anteater. Today's second, the Queensland tiger. Queensland tiger is cat-like, German shepherd-sized marsupial, long rumored to have lived in Australia's Queensland rainforest. Known to local Aborigines as Yari, it first came to the attention of white settlers in the 1870s. There were a flurry of sightings in the 40s and 50s before, in 1961, Craig Black claimed to have seen a female carrying a pouched cub in Ben Lomond National Park. 3 years later, a traveler named Rilla Martin took a picture supposedly depicting the beast. Martin's picture gained instant notoriety as the Owens Cadnook tiger photo. The jury is still out on whether the photo is authentic, although what looks like an artificial prop supporting the creature has been identified sticking out of the bushes. Fake photos or not, cryptozoologists have theorized that the tiger is a surviving species of Thylaceo, a genus of carnivorous marsupials called marsupial lions. Others believe that the Queensland tiger is a mainland version of the thylacine, the famous Tasmanian tiger, which is believed to have gone extinct in the 1930s. Now, I had mentioned Forrest Gallant earlier, and he is kind of a hero of mine, very intelligent person, and doing something that he loves, and well, I support him because he's just brilliant. But he was on Rogan once and twice actually, but on one of his time spent with Joe Rogan, he had they were talking about cryptids, and he had kind of a theory that the North American chupacabra could possibly be a thylacine. Now, he said in the 30s, I forgot what year, don't quote me, I think like somewhere between 1929 and 1936, there was supposedly a boat with these animals heading to the Bronx Zoo. Supposedly it crashed along the coast of North Carolina, but it had 2 breeding pairs of thylacine on it, or 1 breeding pair, of thylacine. Now, Forrest, his theory could be supported because it's very brilliant. His belief or theory is that this breeding pair of thylacine escaped and swam to shore, and through evolution, whether it be geographic or environmental evolution, changed these thylacine to eventually look what they look like now. And a breeding pair would then produce these strange creatures. But if you think about what the North American chupacabra looks like, it looks a lot different than the South American or what is that? Cuban or what? Costa Rican? I don't remember. Puerto Rican chupacabra. And the way he describes it, the mouth just opens very large, and this and that. Well, what does a chupacabra do? And it looks very much like a dog, which the thylacine did look very much like a dog. So, I don't know. Just a neat little theory. Now, let's check out the third and final part of this. The Gazeeka. The Gazeeka legend was originally started in 1910 when a widely syndicated newspaper account described explorer C.A.W. Monckton's ascent to Mount Albert Edward in the west of British New Guinea. There he supposedly came across the tracks of some enormous beast, which came to be known as Monckton's Gazeeka. According to the story, which does not appear in Monckton's own memoirs, the explorers supposedly discovered the monster attacking a village of pygmies and opened fire on it. The huge Gazeeka at once turned upon him as it reared upon its hind legs and pawed the air. It looked to the hunter as big as a house, standing fully 25 feet high. 2 of Monckton's bullets seemed to take effect as a stream of blood flowed freely from the animal's shoulder. But before Monckton was able to reload, the animal turned and fled. By that time it was too dark to follow, and Monckton never had another opportunity to renew his pursuit. While there are a number of holes in the story, New Guinea is not known for its pygmies. The article states that the supposed description of the creature reminded Dr. W.D. Matthew of the American Museum of Natural History of the Diprotodon, the giant wombat. The Diprotodon was the largest marsupial to ever live, growing up to 3 meters, 10 feet, from nose to tail. Accompanying the article was a depiction of the pygmy race reportedly observed by the expedition, with the artist's reconstruction of the giant footstep of the Gazeeka. Creationists have claimed there are similarities between the reconstruction of the Diprotodon's footprints. Unfortunately, they do not match nearly as well as the creationists claim. Sorry for the brief pause in that one. There's a drunk guy walking down my road just screaming, "Blah, blah." So I quick stopped. But yeah, that was really interesting. I love finding stuff like that. I don't know. My channel has grown 3,000 subscribers in 3 months. Actually, almost 4,000 in 3 months. And thank you so much for the support. I do appreciate it. But I don't know if a lot of you guys, the new people, have heard scientific stuff like this. Just really, I don't know. It makes me smile. I came across an article in National Geographic about these tunnels in South America that were dug out. These are just underground tunnels. They were not made by humans. They were carved out. They're huge tunnels. And there's claw marks all throughout them. And just something like that points to me in the direction of cryptids. Cryptids. You know, I mean, the word cryptid is just an undiscovered or genus species animal, categorized, and you know, it's just, these things just really interest me. And if you ever get a chance, I honestly, Forrest Gallant, the guy is just, look him up. He's brilliant. Like, he's just discovered some amazing things. He grew up in South Africa, I believe. Just a really cool, intelligent guy. And yeah, I think you guys would really like him, and his explorations are just epic. And now for today's final part of the upload. Sedona, Arizona, 2008. My late husband, Jack, and I were taking care of my mom at the time. She took daily walks, both AM and PM, and we had gone around the corner of the street, maybe 2 streets away, passing by an empty lot. I'd estimate the time between 5:30 p.m. and 6. So approaching dusk, and now we were about 20 feet from the fence surrounding this lot, and out of the shadow this enormous black dog appears, like the size of a huge Great Dane, but pitch black in the head of a wolf, in what looked like orange-red glowing eyes. It traveled the length of the fence, turning its massive head at us. "Oh my God, did you see that?" I gasped. I can tell you, it was so black and terrifying looking, we were shocked. We had heard stories of strange phenomenon in Sedona. Now, at first I thought, oh, it's just a stray dog, but it's huge, and its body must have been what looked like 7 feet in length, just enormous in breadth and width. Its legs were huge as well, and it just appeared in the most frightening way, just walking in our neighborhood like it was stalking us. We only saw it for a few minutes, but it was freaky to say the least, and it moved swiftly in a strange hulking gait along the fence, perhaps guarding the property or something else. This creature did not look like any dog I had ever seen, but like the huge black dog in Harry Potter. Really weird. Just had to share this because you think, oh, I'm imagining this, but seeing a huge black shape and hearing it walk through the bushes, you feel you are witnessing the unexplained. Well, guys, like I said in the beginning of the upload, I have a very fascinating, interesting, terrifying upload to share with you. I found it fascinating, interesting, and definitely terrifying. I don't know about you, but I hope you did. I want to thank everybody for their support. You guys really are what keeps this channel going. Really quick, I don't know. I know, like I said, a lot of new people have come. I started this channel a while ago. I was diagnosed with a manageable terminal illness, and had severe neuropathy, still do. And actually, they just upped my dose of gabapentin to 3,600 milligrams of it. And but anyway, I started this channel a couple years back as kind of like a coping outlet, I guess. And I've always been interested in the strange, weird, and unexplained, especially Bigfoot, because of where I live in the Adirondacks of New York. And I had an encounter back in '94. So I start this channel, and through the last 4 years I have grown to a point where I never thought I would be. I had 100 subscribers and 1,000, and I was happy with just having 100. And I want to let everyone know that I'm still just as happy with having 23,000. It's a little harder to comment and to show appreciation, but at the end of each video, I thank everybody, because 4 years ago, this channel was just starting out, and you know, if I didn't take off like I did, I'd still be doing it because I love what I do. I would still be doing this channel if I was talking just to myself and recording it, because it really does make me feel like I'm making a difference. And that's it, I guess. I thank everybody for all of their support. It really does mean the world to me. You guys have been here and gotten me through some crazy times where a long time ago I'd probably just crawl under my bed and hide and just not come out. But every day I try to give you guys a terrifying upload with a little bit of education. So thank you so much. I can't thank everybody enough. And with that, I'm going to bid you farewell. Thank you, and see ya!